12 female rappers.
I said I met these three guys, and you know it's true. Let me tell you and explain them all to you.
12 names that didn't just change the game, they survived the industry long enough to change it. You know some of these names. You've heard the songs.
But if it doesn't work out, yo, it just doesn't. It wasn't meant to be, you know, it just was.
But here's what history doesn't always tell you, what it actually cost them to be the first. What it looked like to walk into a room full of men who didn't want you there and leave with your name on the album.
And don't miss, 'cause this bitch be bad as hell.
Before Nicki, before Cardi, before any of that, somebody had to kick the door open.
They wanna know.
Somebody had to bleed first. This is their story.
Boys, all type of boys.
Number 12, Roxanne Shante.
Pressure in any category, I'm considered the best. And every time that I say it, there ain't nothing left.
She was 14 years old and already promising, and you could see where this was going. 14. And she did something that night in 1984 that hip-hop had never seen before. Marley Marl and Mr. Magic ran into her outside the Queensbridge housing projects. UTFO had just stood up their show, left the promoter hanging, and somebody had to respond to Roxanne, Roxanne, the song that had the whole city talking. Marley Marl looks at this 14-year-old girl from Queens and says, "Can you do this?" And Lolita Shante Gooden, who would become Roxanne Shante, sat down and freestyled a 7-minute diss track.
You should be like me. That's my MC. Don't never have to.
That same night, Mr. Magic aired it on WBLS. And before the sun came up, the phone lines didn't stop ringing. Here's what gets me. Curtis Blow, one of the judges in a freestyle battle she entered the following year, later admitted he didn't vote for her because she was a girl.
Better know and listen to me. Because my name is Roxanne and I came to say
She won that battle, but she lost the decision, and she never let it stop her. Roxanne's Revenge hit number 22 on Billboard, sold over 250,000 copies in New York alone. Sparked what became the Roxanne Wars, over 30 response records. The New York Times called her the Queen of Rap at 14. And what did the industry do? Exactly what the industry always does. They took the moment and cut her out of the credit. But here's the truth. She opened the door. She was hip-hop's first recorded beef, rap's first female star, and the blueprint for every female MC who came after her. Without Roxanne Shante, the door doesn't exist. Number 11, Salt-N-Pepa. In 1985, 2 nursing students at Queensbridge Community College in Queens recorded a song for their co-workers' class project. Not a label deal, not a manager's vision. A class project. Cheryl James and Sandra Denton, Salt-N-Pepa, recorded The Showstopper as a response to Doug E. Fresh and Slick Rick. Didn't even think twice about going at established names. That's Queens for you. And here's what nobody talked about at the time. They didn't just rap, they had fashion, they had swagger, they had chemistry you couldn't manufacture, and they weren't hiding their femininity to fit into a man's world. They were flipping it into a weapon. Push It was originally a B-side. Salt literally hated the song, thought it was cheesy, thought it would hurt their credibility. A San Francisco DJ named Cameron Paul remixed it, threw it in the club rotation, and suddenly the phones wouldn't stop. It hit number 19 on the Billboard Hot 100, and then something that had never happened before happened. Hot, Cool, and Vicious went platinum. First female rap act in history to do it, and that's before Very Necessary in 1993. 7 million copies worldwide. Shoot, what a man. None of your business. the first all-female rap group to win a Grammy. They sold over 15 million records total. If you were there when Shoop hit the radio, you know exactly how that summer felt. Nobody sounded like that, and nobody had the nerve to say what Salt-N-Pepa said out loud. The streets said female rappers don't sell. Salt-N-Pepa said hold this platinum plaque. Real talk. Only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 10, MC Lyte. In 1988, there had never been a solo album by a female rapper. Never. Not one. Brooklyn's Lana Michelle Moore, MC Lyte, changed that.
So now I take precautions when choosing my mate. I do not.
She was 16 when she started writing, still in high school, and she released Light as a Rock in 1988 with a flow so sharp and a delivery so controlled that male MCs started paying attention in a way they hadn't before. Not because she was female, because she was better.
Look into my eyes to see what I am thinking. That dream is over.
There's a difference, and Lyte knew the difference. She wasn't trying to outmale the men around her. She was just better on the mic. Here's what's wild about this one. In 1993, she released Roughneck, and it hit #1 on the Billboard Hot Rap Singles chart, but that's not the moment.
Letters L-Y-T-E, I'll tell you, and all of you in the back, and then
the moment is what happened at the Grammys in 1994. Roughneck got nominated for Best Rap Solo Performance, and MC Lyte became the first female rapper in history to receive a Grammy nomination. The first. Think about how long the genre had existed before that happened.
No more. Hit the road, Sam. Don't you come back no more.
And here's what still doesn't sit right with me. She was consistently as skilled, as lyrical, and as credible as the best MCs of her era, men included. She appeared on Cold Rocker Party in 1996 and held her own with anyone on that track.
No, that's not my strategy, not the game I play. I admit I play a game, but it's not done that way.
Contributed to Missy Elliott's debut, mentored a generation, but she never got her full mainstream moment. The machine was never fully built for someone like her, a woman who came with bars and wasn't about to change them for radio.
Me, because a day without a kiss is so incomplete and did me.
That's a different kind of career and a different kind of legacy. MC Lyte, first female solo rap album, first female Grammy nomination. Number 9, Queen Latifah.
To this rule, I don't be getting mad when we playing, it's cool. But don't you be calling me
1989. Ladies First drops. In hip-hop, here's a woman claim sovereign ground. Not ask for it. Claim it. Dana Owens from Newark, New Jersey. Queen Latifah. She wasn't just rapping. She was building a platform before anyone in this genre knew what a platform was.
all around. You say I'm nothing without you, but I'm nothing with you. Really.
She studied broadcasting, she carried herself like a leader, and when she got behind the mic, she made you feel like she wasn't just speaking for herself. She was speaking for every woman who'd ever been talked over in a cipher.
Who you calling a bitch?
Ladies First featured Money Love and was produced with imagery connecting black women in America to African queens, to history, to a lineage the culture had been told to forget. If you were paying attention in '89, that hit different than almost anything else in the genre. But here's the part the mainstream never gave her full credit for: Unity. In 1993, a song directly addressing violence against women, street harassment, calling men out by name for putting their hands on women, hit number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. It won her a Grammy for Best Rap Solo Performance in 1995, and it was doing all of that while the culture was at one of its most misogynistic commercial peaks. She was rowing against the current every single day, and the industry tried to box her in. She broke the box and walked into Hollywood. Oscar nomination, Golden Globe, produced her own label, built an empire.
Brother, you wait and sit in the bitch.
Some people say she crossed over too cleanly. Others say she played the long game perfectly. You know which side you're on. Queen Latifah. Number 8, Yo-Yo. Ice Cube co-signed her, and in 1991, that co-sign was one of the most powerful in hip-hop. Yolanda Whitaker, Yo-Yo, grew up in South Central Los Angeles. She heard N.W.A. in her neighborhood the same way everyone else did, but she also heard something missing. There was no female voice in that world. No woman standing in that space who looked like her, sounded like her, and wasn't there to play a supporting role. She appeared on Ice Cube's debut solo album, America's Most Wanted, in 1990, sparring with him, going bar for bar, not backing down. And if you went back and listened to that exchange today, you'd understand exactly why Cube wanted her on there. She didn't need him. He needed the balance she brought. Make Way for the Motherlode dropped in 1991. And it didn't sound like anything else coming out of West Coast hip-hop at the time. She wasn't trying to sanitize herself for a mainstream that wasn't ready. She was spitting with confidence and politics at the same time. She founded the Intelligent Black Women's Coalition. She was building a movement while building a discography. Here's what gets buried in the history. The West Coast had its own lane, and there were gatekeepers who decided what got pushed and what didn't. Yo-Yo didn't always get the push her talent deserved, but the streets of LA knew, and every female MC who came out of that region afterward, she laid something down for them. If this album was in your rotation in 91 and 92, you know what I'm talking about. Drop it in the comments.
You can't play with my Yo-Yo, the brand new intelligent black lady.
Number 7, the Lady of Rage. Death Row Records, 1992. Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style hadn't even dropped yet, and there was one track, Afro Puffs, that made every head nod in a different direction. Robin Allen from Farmville, Virginia became the Lady of Rage, and she was arguably the most technically gifted pure MC on that entire label. Not the most famous, not the most pushed, the most gifted. If you know, you know. She appeared on Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style in 1993, one of the best-selling rap albums in history, holding her own in a cypher where every name on that project was either already legendary or about to be. Her verse on Puffin' on Blunts and Drankin' Tanqueray isn't discussed the way it should be. Her flow was technical in a way that Death Row's commercial direction never fully allowed her to show. Here's where the story gets political. She was signed to Death Row, which meant she was inside one of the most powerful and most volatile operations in the history of this genre. Suge Knight's label, that environment, the creative control was never fully hers. Her debut album, Necessary Roughness, didn't drop until 1997, years after she should have had that platform. And when it did drop, the label was already in crisis, Tupac gone, Suge facing legal trouble. The machine that could have launched her properly was already dismantling itself. That's not falling off. That's being buried by circumstance. There's a difference. Lady of Rage, too gifted to forget, too real for the politics of that era to fully contain. Number 6, the Brat.
Don't even trip. And I'ma bust your lip. Now I know that
1994, Jermaine Dupri, one of the most successful producers in the game, sat Brat down before they released Funk Daffy and told her, female rappers pretty much only go gold. Don't expect platinum. Be happy with gold. She went platinum, not just platinum, first solo female rapper in history to go platinum. Shante Harris from Chicago, who had won a Yo MTV Raps rap contest in 1992 and been introduced to Dupri through Criss Cross, dropped an album that moved over 1 million units.
Open up your doors and let that funk flow. Listen up, make sure you listen up well.
Peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and hit number 1 on the rap and R&B/hip-hop charts. The title single Funk Daffy hit number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the Hot Rap Singles chart. Here's what made it different beyond the numbers. She wasn't cleaning up her image for crossover. Dupri shaped her as a female Snoop Doggy Dogg, and that comparison was intentional. Laid back delivery, confidence, no apologies. She brought a West Coast influenced energy to a Chicago artist in a Southern production context, and it worked in a way nobody had predicted. And then she said, the most important thing you can say in this business, I had no idea it was going to go platinum. I would have been happy if it went double glass.
From the bottom to the top, top to bottom I go.
That's an artist who wasn't chasing the validation. The validation had to come find her. Jermaine Dupri told her it couldn't be done. She did it anyway. And that quote, female rappers pretty much only go gold, becomes the most ironic thing he ever said. Number 5, Foxy Brown. 1996 was a different kind of year. Tupac, Biggie, Death Row in its last moments of dominance. Bad Boy at the peak of its commercial power. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, a 19-year-old from Brooklyn named Inga Marchand walked into a room full of the most powerful names in the game and held her own on every single track. Before her debut album, Il Na Na, dropped in November 1996, Foxy Brown had already appeared on LL Cool J's I Shot Your Remix, Jay-Z's Ain't No Player, and this is the one that changed everything, Trackmaster's Touch Me, Tease Me, with Case and Mary J. Blige.
Like 1.5, about to make it 3, my name will forever ring. Got him screaming down.
All in 1996, all before her debut. She built her reputation feature by feature, verse by verse, in the most competitive environment hip-hop has ever seen.
I know it well. Rock Parada over Chanel, the H-class with the H Fidel.
Il Na Na debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200 and went platinum. But the commercial numbers aren't the full story. What Foxy did sonically and culturally, taking the hypersexualized lens that the industry had always pointed at women and pointing it back on her terms. That was a shift. She wasn't performing for the male gaze. She was using the imagery as armor. Whether the culture fully understood that at the time is a different conversation. And here's the part that gets overlooked. She was 19 years old in those rooms with Jay-Z and Nas and LL, and nobody was talking about her being young. They were talking about her being dangerous.
And every 3rd minute, y'all wanna swerve in it. Quick like a virgin in it.
That's a different energy. Foxy Brown brought something you either understood the first time you heard it or you didn't. Number 4, Lil Kim. Hardcore dropped in November 1996. Same year as Foxy's debut, and this is where the culture had a conversation it wasn't ready to have in 1996, but has been having ever since. Kimberly Jones, Big Mama, Lil Kim from Brooklyn, signed to Junior Mafia, mentored and complicated by her relationship with Biggie Smalls. If you know that whole story, the love, the influence, the credit that got debated, you know that's its own documentary.
I come from Bed-Stuy, but you can see the two of they gon' die.
What I'll say is this: the music was hers, the bars were hers, and the conviction in every single line was something you can't coach and can't manufacture. Hardcore went platinum, debuted at number 11 on the Billboard 200. But the single that changed the conversation, Not Tonight, Ladies Night Remix, in 1997, featuring Missy Elliott, The Brat, Lisa Lopes, and Angie Martinez, was something different. 5 female MCs on one track that hit number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Just another funeral service, we'll get at you, come through shining it.
That was a statement, a visual statement, a cultural statement. 5 women at the top of the game on the same record for the same genre at the same time. Here's what I think about when I hear that record.
Show you what to do and you don't do. Where it's not safe to go to. The boys
The industry spent years telling the culture there wasn't room for more than one female rapper at a time. That track said there's room for 5 right now, simultaneously, and Lil Kim was the center of that energy. She redefined what a female rapper could say, look like, and demand from the room. The conversation about her is still going, and that's the point. A record that still gets debated 27 years later is a record that changed something. Number 3, Eve. 1999, Rough Riders, DMX is at the absolute peak of his commercial power. The Locks, Drag On, and then Eve, and the album is called Let There Be Eve, Rough Riders' First Lady. First Lady, not first female rapper, First Lady of that camp, that label, that energy. And if you were listening in 1999, you understood exactly what that meant. Eve Jahan Jeffers from Philadelphia walked into the Rough Riders family at a moment when that crew represented the hardest, most commercially dominant street rap in the country. And she fit, not because she softened her sound for the room, because she matched the room. Let Me Blow Your Mind with Gwen Stefani won the first Grammy Award ever given for Best Rap/Sung Collaboration at the 2002 ceremony. A street rap artist from Philly and a pop icon from No.W.A on the same track on the same Grammy stage. Here's what's crazy. She was originally rejected when she auditioned for Dr. Dre's Death Row, turned away, and then she found her home and her moment in a place that made complete sense for what she actually was. She brought the female perspective into the most masculine commercial space of that era without diluting either. And that balancing act, being believable to the streets and connecting across genres, is harder than it looks. It requires that your talent be undeniable before anyone will let you try. Eve's was. Number 2, Missy Elliott. Here's something Elektra Records said to Missy Elliott before she ever had a solo album. The label told her she could sing, she could write, but she looked wrong. She wasn't the image they were trying to sell. Super Duper Fly dropped July 15, 1997, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, topped the Billboard R&B/hip-hop albums chart, went platinum within 2 months of release.
Picture Black saying, oh yes, I'm massa. Got a Lamborghini, so I drive faster.
And The Rain, Super Duper Fly video. Missy in an inflated black trash bag suit, the bubble suit, with Timbaland producing something that sounded like it came from a different decade, became one of the most played videos on MTV in the entire decade.
It's good to know ya. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it.
Bad Boy Records tried to sign her first. Puff Daddy saw what was in that verse she did on the Gina Thompson remix in 1996, but Missy had a different plan. She negotiated her own imprint, the Goldmine Inc. at Elektra. Total creative control. The album was recorded in 1 week, and it sounded like it was from the future.
If it's 9 to 5 or shaking your ain't no shame, ladies, do your thing.
Here's what makes Missy Elliott different from anyone else on this list. She wasn't just a rapper. She was the producer, the writer, the creative director, the visual architect. She had been writing and producing for Aaliyah, for S.W.V., for Total, before most people knew her name.
If you got a big, let me search you to find out how hard.
When her solo career launched, she wasn't starting over. She was deploying everything she'd already built behind the scenes. The Guardian and The Observer later called her America's first black female music mogul.
Black, white, Puerto Rican, Chinese boys.
That title isn't handed out. It's earned line by line, deal by deal, and creative vision by creative vision. Missy Elliott, the future of everything.
Like I told ya, give me all your numbers so I can phone ya. Your girl acting stinking.
Number 1, Lauryn Hill.
Let me break it down for you again. You know I only say it 'cause I'm truly genuine. Don't be a harvest.
February 24th, 1999, the 41st Grammy Awards, Shrine Auditorium, Los Angeles. Whitney Houston walks to the microphone to present Album of the Year, and she calls a name, Lauryn Hill.
To the man, more concerned with his rims and his Timbs and his women. Him and his man, come in the club.
10 nominations that night, the most by any female artist in Grammy history at the time. 5 wins, the most won by any female artist in a single ceremony at the time. Album of the Year for The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, making it the first hip-hop album in history to win that award.
It's been 3 weeks since you were looking for your friend, the one you let hit it and never called.
Best New Artist, Best R&B Song, Best R&B Album, Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. She stood at that podium at 23 years old and said, "This is crazy, because this is hip-hop music." And the applause was for more than a Grammy. It was for a genre finally getting its due in the room where music had always tried to keep it out. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill sold 422,624 copies in its first week, the largest first week sales for an album by a woman at the time.
I'm a little trim to begin. Now you think you really gonna pretend like you wasn't down and
2.9 million copies in the United States by December 1998 alone. She appeared on the cover of Time magazine in 1999 as the first rapper to do so. The album became the first female rap recording certified diamond by the RIAA. 10 million units sold in America.
claiming that they did a bid, man. Need to take care of their 3 and 4 kids, been the face in court case.
And she had already done it before with the Fugees. The score, 1996, Killing Me Softly, a Roberta Flack sample transformed into one of the most commercially successful hip-hop moments of its era. Before the solo album, before the Grammys, she was already that.
Sleeping with the gin, now that was the sin that did Jezebel in. Who you gonna tell?
But here's what I think about when I put this list together. She gave all of that everything, and then she stepped away from the machine. There's been one solo studio album, and that album is still being taught, still being studied, still being called one of the greatest recordings in American music history.
Pack pissed out by the waist, man. Crissed out by the casement. Still the name of the basement. The pretty face, man.
Inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2024. Inducted into the Library of Congress National Recording Registry as the first female rap recording to receive that honor. She never chased a sequel. And the thing she made without chasing anything is still the measuring stick.
Let me